Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Friday, April 9th. We made it to Friday. And this is In Case You Missed American History. Well, if you're watching this, that means you couldn't make it to class today, and that is okay. I hope you are doing well. I hope those around you are doing well. And I hope that you have some safe and interesting plans for your weekend. Well, here's the deal. I'm going to run you through everything that we did today. We're going to go through a couple of slides. I'm going to give you some reminders about Monday and the way Monday is going to roll for us. And then I am going to let you move about the country. Okay. All right. So reminders. Don't forget that you have Progressive Sweeping the Nation or Progressive Sweep the Nation in your classwork tab of Google Classroom. And I hope you're working on that. I hope you've gotten a start on it. And if you're having any trouble, please make sure and let me know. Some quick hints. Make sure you're using your words. Don't do the copy and paste bit where you go in, you find a sentence that the word you're looking for is in, boom, 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 drop it in, bam, there you go. Oh, I got the answer. No, you got a 0. Okay, so make sure you put things in your own words and make sure you're actually answering the question and not just finding some vocabulary word that is important in the question and looking it up. The second thing, make sure at the start of the question or start of your answer, restate the question. Okay. Don't say he did this or they did this. Restate the question. Okay. Avoid those pronoun starts, I, you, he, she, it, we, they, unless you are answering an opinion-based question. If I ask you an opinion-based question, you can say, I think, or things like that. But otherwise, you're going to say things like, Ida B. Wells is similar to Rosa Parks because, or during the progressive era, progressives believe that the major way to make change was, okay, instead of they or she, okay? Today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at changes in schools during the progressive era. We're also going to talk about progressives' impacts on cities. I'm just going to kind of give you the nuts and bolts of things. Anytime you have left planned for American history, you could use it as work time on the assignment. It is due Monday at midnight. And oh yeah, while we're talking about Monday, here is your plan for Monday. I'm not assigning anything new for Monday. I will shoot a quick video reminding you of what you're supposed to do. So you'll see something that says like asynchronous learning day 2. There'll be a short YouTube video. And basically that YouTube video is going to tell you kind of give you a preview of next week, what we're going to do with our 4 days next week. But it's also going to tell you that your job is to have Progressive Sweep the Nation turned in by Monday at midnight. So there you go. Simple day. Other than that, obviously, I wanted to tell you that over the weekend and all day Monday, I will be available to you to help with homework if you're stuck or any other school-related issues that you guys might have. All you got to do is email me, chat me, video chat me. Monday, I'm here all day. I've got a couple of meetings. I'm not real sure how long they'll take, but I'll respond back to you as soon as you want, as soon as you need. And if we need to do a video chat, I'll send you some time options that we could do that at. Okay. All right. Questions, comments, concerns, please make sure and let me know. Obviously, you can't just unmute and say something to me. So if there's a problem with something that's going on, please just reach out. You've got my email. You've got my cell phone number. You obviously know a bunch of different ways to get a hold of me. So here we go. All right. We're going to take a look at 2 slides today. First, we're going to talk about changes in schools. So, I think you guys have been to Old World, Wisconsin. I asked my group yesterday. They said yes. You guys have some of you have seen an old show called Little House on the Prairie. If you lived in a rural area, like we do, rural means country, odds are that you were going to school in a one-room schoolhouse. And even obviously in some cities, they would have like one-room schoolhouses for certain areas of the city. Okay. And in that one-room schoolhouse, you were going to have every kid in that area that wanted to attend school. Now, that could be first grade all the way up through some high school kids. And there'd be one teacher trying to teach all of those people at the same time. So if you can imagine a math class, you might have the teacher teaching the first and second graders how to add and subtract, doing a little lesson on that, then having some problems up on the board in front of the room, and then moving on to the third and fourth graders who are maybe working on multiplication and division. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. Middle school, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade kids, maybe they're doing some more complicated math. And then you're moving over to the high school kids and you're doing some algebra or something like that. Okay. And then you're recycling back over. The older kids may help the younger kids a little bit. Reading classes, they're obviously working at different reading levels. They did things like penmanship and things along those lines. A lot of one-room schoolhouse teachers In some states, the only qualification you needed to become a teacher was that you graduated from high school. Some you had to go to something called a normal school. A normal school was like a college course on being a teacher. During the progressive era, they figure out that that's not very efficient. I couldn't teach some of your little brothers and sisters the social studies that they need and teach you the social studies that you need and the state says you need and the federal government says you need if you were all in the room at the same time. I had things banging all around me. Okay. High school becomes more popular. Most states pass laws that said you have to be in school until at least 12. Obviously, back then, some families needed kids to work. Farm families needed kids to work. That's why you get summers off, is because of farming tradition and things like that. Some states went up to 15. When I was in high school, you had to make it to 18. Okay, or it was originally 16 when I first started, and then they changed it to 18. But high school becomes more popular because families saw it as a way to not only further their kids' education, but to potentially help the family and to make sure that that kid did not end up just doing the same thing the family did. And so high school becomes legally required, and it also becomes a more common thing from a family's want standpoint. Gender also mattered less. Before the progressive era, a lot of women, girls' education was, if you were rich, you went to a finishing school where they taught you how to be a proper lady, how to do all the things, or you stayed home and helped with your younger siblings or the cooking or the cleaning and did, I'm air quoting, so please, if you're watching, if you're only listening to me, please know that I'm using a historical term, women's work. Didn't matter if a woman knew how to do algebra, but it did matter if they knew how to change a diaper. It didn't matter if a woman knew how to read at a high level. It mattered that they knew how to bake a cake. Okay, that was the general opinion. During the progressive era, it was seen that women's education was valuable because not only were women had great potential and were very smart, they were moving out of the work world. And also, obviously, having an educated society means that you have generally a better society. One-room schoolhouses also taught a lot of classics. The reading was a lot of moral lessons about telling the truth and being honest and being respectful to elders. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those things. But they move along away from what are the old classics. They call them the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, that's reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, arithmetic's an A word, writing's a W word, so I'm not real sure where those things come from. But hey, everybody always thinks it's ready, responsible, and respectful. I'm like, no, it's not those things. Please, God, no. All right. And they start to add more things in what's called an assembly line style, because when they move away from the one-room schoolhouse and they go to grades in a building where you have first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, or in some schools they'd put the first and second graders together. You would go and you would get so many minutes of science and so many minutes of social studies and so many minutes of this and so many minutes of that. And you got more of probably what you guys are used to in the elementary school or even in a high school, except we obviously go longer stretches and you only have 4 classes at a time and things like that. So more subject areas, and not just your usual school stuff. There was art classes, there were physical education classes. Bigger schools had more job-related classes, music. Some of the things that you guys enjoy about school didn't exist before the progressive era. And actually, schools start to offer kindergartens and they get to the kids earlier. Actually, kindergarten is a German word. The idea comes from Germany. It's like a school training type thing. And the first kindergarten in the United States is actually in Watertown, Wisconsin, not too far from us down the road. So the idea the progressives had is that if they could produce a more educated population, that population would be able to take care of their own problems. They'd be able to think independently. They'd be able to problem solve. They could take that plan, that whole find the problem, investigate the problem, educate people without bias, come up with a solution, try your solution. You're more likely to be able to do those things if you're educated because you know how to get to the bottom of the problem. Okay? Now, problems in cities, okay? Progressives needed to be in cities because cities equal problems. Anytime you put too many people in a small area, you're going to have issues, okay? You're going to have crime. You're going to have sanitation issues. You're going to have race issues. You're going to have all these different things because you're putting a lot of people in a small place where conflict is inevitable. You're also putting stress on an area by overloading it with people. All right. You're going to have the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor. You're going to have people that don't have a place to live, and you're going to have people living in fancy, expensive places. And before the progressive era, social Darwinism, or the rich are great and the poor suck, and therefore the poor could just struggle, that was the prevailing way of thinking. Well, by 1910, there's 50 cities in the United States that have more than 100,000 people. I know you're like, oh, that's not that big. By their standards, it really was. Some of those places are common, normal places that you guys are used to, like New York and Chicago. But some of the bigger cities in the country were like Toledo, Ohio. I think Milwaukee was the 13th biggest city in America back then. Okay. And people started to realize that there were a lot of problems in cities. And some cities had progressive mayors. I'll cut the long story I'm going to tell in class short because your time is valuable. Not that people in classes' time isn't valuable, but hey, I've got to do some more entertainment when people are sitting in front of me. One example of a really progressive mayor who was copied all over the country is a guy named Sam Jones, who was the mayor of Toledo, Ohio. Now, Sam Jones believed in something called the Golden Rule. Now, if you don't know what the Golden Rule is, the complicated version is do unto others as thy would have done unto you, okay? That means treat other people how you want to be treated, okay? And Sam Jones kind of lived his life by that motto. And so when he was elected mayor, he decided to not think about the fact that he was a rich person who had just been elected to an important public office. He tried to think about, if I were a person who lived in Toledo, and I am, and I didn't have the things I have, what would I want done for me? And so he focused on what are called bread and butter issues. Bread and butter issues are things that everybody cares about. And so he focused on things like how long the workday was, schooling in the city, the quality of sanitation, like how clean are the streets? Is the garbage getting picked up? Parks. They put libraries in prisons and put in job training programs in jails, so that when people left jails, they became they were more likely to go out into the world and be able to be successful. And those are just some of the things he did, but he lived his life by this motto that I think makes a lot of sense: treat other people how you want to be treated. And because of that, Toledo, Ohio became one of the best cities in America. Lincoln Steffens, one of the muckrakers that came up yesterday, wrote that Sam Jones is the finest mayor of one of the finest cities in America, and that everyone should move to Toledo, Ohio. And it was just very simply because, as a progressive, Sam Jones thought outside the normal box. He wanted everyone to be better, because he figured if everyone was bad, if the lowest person, if the person who had it the worst, the poorest person in Toledo, Ohio's life improved, that would improve everybody's life. The idea of social gospel. Okay. Now, again, I kind of kept it short for you guys today. Today's Friday, a little laid back. Please use the time to work on Progressive Sweep the Nation. If you have any questions, I'm here to help. Remember, progressives were just trying to solve the problems of the time. Did they do a perfect job? No, but they did a lot from 1900, 1915 to make things better. You do something to make the world better this weekend, whether it be making things better for yourself, whether it be making things better for someone at your house or someone in town. Do something progressive this weekend. Bye-bye.